Hi BookTube! Today I'm going to be reviewing Norwegian by Night by Derek B. Miller. I'd heard lots of really good things about this, so I was really excited to give this one a go. I read it on my holidays and it, I think, by far was my favourite book that I read during that time, and possibly it is also one of my favourite books of the year. You'll have to excuse me, I have copious amounts of notes this time because I just couldn't 100% put into words what I wanted to say coherently. So please excuse the up and down as I am reviewing the book. It's not a straight crime thriller. And already with the wordlessness. This opens with "It is summer and luminous." We meet Sheldon, who is our narrator. He is an 82-year-old Korean War veteran who's recently been widowed. He's moved to Norway with his granddaughter Ria and her husband Lars, and the first time that we meet him, he is in a park with them in Oslo and he is contemplating putting a hot dog up Lars' nose. He's by no means a perfect character. He's very stuck in his ways, he's quite ornery and he's very unreasonable at times. But I really liked him as a character. I thought he was very fun throughout the book. There was quite a lot of humorous points. And I think he did have quite a dry sense of humour, which I did very much enjoy. It's sort of hinted at throughout the book that he's in the early stages of dementia. He often talks to the ghosts of his past, his family, his friends. And I guess that's one way that they put off, or they explain the reasons to why that he's gone on the run with the woman upstairs' son. So the first time that we meet her, she's sort of coming to his apartment and she's asking for help. She is murdered in the apartment, and while that's happening, Sheldon is with her son Paul, hiding in a closet. They then go on the run from the Balkan Mafia, and I guess what follows next is a journey that allows Sheldon to accept things that have happened in his life. He seems to hold a lot of guilt over things that have happened in the past, and this whole journey just helps him accept everything. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought the writing was fantastic. There were a number of times when I was on the tube that I drew some curious stares because I'd laughed out loud or I'd agreed with something that had happened or he'd said. I think also the other thing that drew me to the story was the fact that it was an 82-year-old man that was going to be protecting Saul. It wasn't an ex-SAS officer or a Navy SEAL who was going to bust in and, you know, open a can of whoop ass. It was Sheldon with his wits, and I really like the idea of that. It wasn't terribly fast paced and it didn't have heaps and heaps of action, but it flowed, it kept my interest. I was really enjoying how it was written. I wanted to find more out about Sheldon, about his past, and you sort of do, and it's more, I guess, in when he's on his journey with Paul and his reflection, and when he's talking to his ghosts, that you sort of really learn more about him. In particular, Saul, who is Ria's father. There's an incredibly sad conversation that Sheldon and Saul have when he returns from his first tour of duty in Vietnam, and basically the end of that conversation is Saul rejoining the army and going back to Vietnam and being killed in action. So I think Saul feels this terrible guilt over that, because he didn't want to say what he said, but he couldn't say what he felt, which sounds incredibly cryptic. But what he needed to say was, "I love you. You know, I'm proud of you, son." But that didn't happen. Yes. But Saul is on the way to the hunting cabin that Lars' family have. This is where he feels that Paul is going to be safe. He just needs to get to this cabin. Unbeknownst to him, members of the Balkan Mafia and the police have also deduced that that's where he's going to be going. So yes, he's not quite as safe as what he thinks he is, but it sets up this very great foreshadowing and foreboding. It's just, you know that something's going to go down. You just know. Side note, I would really, really love it if the author could give, not just me, and I'm sure it's not just me that feels this way, Sigrid could have her own crime novel series. She is the police officer that's trying to find out who's killed Paul's mother and where Sheldon has gone. There were sort of little glimpses into her life, not a lot, but what I did see I really enjoyed, and I just think she has a really interesting voice, so I would love to see more from her. So while Sheldon and Paul are on their adventure, I don't know, it's strange to call it an adventure, but that's kind of what I feel like it is. I think I remember reading another review which was sort of saying that it was a little bit like Huck Finn in that on the river type adventure sort of thing. So yes, it does. Their antics just together, you know, they steal a boat, they steal a car, they dress up as Vikings. Even though they're running for their lives, they seem like they're just having lots of fun. So while this is happening, you get glimpses into other characters. So there's Ria and Lars and how they're dealing with the fact that somebody's been murdered in their house, and that her grandfather is now missing. You also get to meet Paul's father, and you get to find out how him and Paul's mother met. You also get to meet another one of the Balkan bad guys, and I mean, I don't know a lot about that conflict, but you sort of get a little bit of a view inside of that war and what it did to people, which I felt was quite interesting. And it's another thing that sort of spurned on, I would like to be doing some more non-fiction reading about that particular conflict as well. Not a lot of time is spent with these characters, but I think between Sheldon and their sort of little views and comments and glimpses, it's enough for me. I felt like I knew them through their descriptions. I really wanted to get back to Sheldon and Paul and their adventures, and Sheldon looking back into his past. I found that part of the writing and that part of the story very interesting to me. I mentioned earlier that I didn't think it was hugely fast-paced, but the writing was just beautiful. I mentioned that they get dressed, you know, Paul gets dressed up as a Viking, and it's like you could see it there. And when they're out on the lake, you could picture the lake, and I just thought that Miller was very well written. And it's sort of, it's not just a crime thriller, it's sort of, I don't know, and again, even with my notes, I still can't, it's just this really great look at life and coming to terms with things. It's a reflection, it's just good, damn it. But I had one gripe with the book, and that was the ending, and not in particular how it ended, because I think it ended perfectly. It needed to end that way, and I certainly don't think I would have enjoyed it as much if it had ended differently, but I wanted more. The last couple of chapters felt quite rushed, and I really wanted Miller to take his time and not to race towards the finish. It felt like he saw the end in sight and he knew what he wanted to do, and so he just did it. I would have liked a couple of extra chapters I don't know, I just wanted a little bit more, which is why I gave it 4 out of 5 stars instead of the 5 stars. That being said, I highly recommend it. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I don't think you have to like crime thrillers to enjoy this book. You just need to enjoy good writing. So that is it. Until next time, happy reading. Thanks for watching. Bye.